Hello guys and welcome to the FPL Duo. We are here for the Kneejerk reaction for Game Week 18. Also to discuss obviously what our teams look like for Game Week 19 also. And yeah, what an interesting game week. Obviously before we get into this video guys, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe for more, and leave a comment down below if you wish. Huss is currently unable to join us at the moment, but he should join the stream shortly through this obviously Kneejerk reaction. So hopefully we get to hear his opinion and views on Game Week 18 as well. But obviously I will discuss both our teams' points and ranks, obviously, whilst he is currently vacant. So first of all, let's start off with his team that is currently on the screen. So obviously start with Raya from Arsenal, the goalkeeper. Arsenal literally just played just now against Ipswich, where their score was 1-0 in the end. But there was a lot of chances in that game for Arsenal, and quite surprised it was only 1-0. But yeah, it's a good win considering they lost their main man Saka in the couple of weeks that he is absent for the matches. It seems they seem to be ticking along nicely. But he's rewarded with 6 points, clean sheet, no bonus, but a nice clean sheet as well for Raya. And that goes the same for Gabriel, who also got 6 points for his clean sheet for Arsenal. So double Arsenal defence worked out really well this game week. Gabriel missed a massive opportunity to score a header though in that game, and it was such an easy header because Delac was chasing Gabriel towards it, but he was nowhere in sight, and then Gabriel just had to simply tap it in, but it managed just to, I think, deflect off of the side of his head, and he ended up missing. But that was a good opportunity for Gabriel to get a double haul with the goal and the clean sheet combined, but only 6 points from him. Moving on to Trent, it was a quite interesting game, Liverpool. It's a shame that obviously Huss isn't here to discuss it because he was at the Liverpool game and he would show a bit more insight to it. But Leicester did score within the 6 minutes of that game, and obviously Leicester were leading from that moment on. Before the equaliser, just before half time in that game, from Gakpo, who scored a lovely goal, long ranger type goal, and yeah, that by half time obviously it was 1-1, and then second half Liverpool went on to win that game 3-1 in the end. So no clean sheet obviously for Trent, nor an attacking return from either during that fixture, but a big win obviously for Liverpool to keep top of the table with the game in hand. Moving on to the final defender, that is Lewis. And yeah, it's no surprise. Obviously, Man City are on a very downward spiral at the moment, and it continues with the draw against Everton, where obviously Man City drew 1-1 to them. And considering Man City were obviously home, it's a very poor result for them. And yeah, no clean sheet again for Lewis. And also, Haaland missed a penalty in the end. It was very theatrical, Pickford in the goal, and he did take the penalty, which obviously must have paid off because obviously Haaland missed. Obviously, Pickford saved the goal. And then obviously, when it did come to him again, Haaland was offside. So yeah, I think a good result for Everton. Obviously, hold off Man City from a win. And yeah, not a surprising result, obviously, from how Man City are obviously coping with their matches ever since Rodri and other such players have gone out injured. Moving on to the midfield, and this is where it takes a bit of a downward, a snakes and ladders type of scenario. So let's start with the snakes. In terms of Bruno Fernandes, again, it seems like it doesn't get any better for Man United. It's like 2 steps forward and again 3 steps back. Bruno Fernandes got a yellow card, followed by another yellow card, which led to him getting sent off with a red. So that leaves him on -2 points. And he was one of the players that Huss brought in a part of that -4 as well. So it didn't pay off, obviously bringing Fernandes in. That means it is suspended until next year now. And yeah, not a good result. Obviously, Man United again losing 2-0 to Wolves. Another goal conceded from a corner, which was scored by Cunha as well. So yeah, it wasn't great for Man United assets for this game if you did have him in your team. Moving on to Rodgers, again, this is a very interesting match for Aston Villa because it was a very controversial decision made in that game, and I won't go too deep into it because there's an argumentative point on whether this was a red card or not. But obviously, Duran for Aston Villa was sent off with a red, which was obviously cleared with VAR as deemed as a red card. For obviously, he looked like he slipped, but the second approach to his leg on the right looked like he sort of kicked, well, not kicked, but stamped on Shaw's back in the moment, which is split 50-50 in terms of the community, where I've seen people say it's not a red card. It is a red card. But in the end, obviously, the result didn't end well for Aston Villa with 10 men down at that moment. So that does mean, obviously, Rodgers only scored 2 points. I think it would have been much different if Duran wasn't sent off, because Aston Villa were on the front foot during that game. So I think a bit of misfortune, obviously, for Duran. Obviously, sympathy as well, as that could have gone either way for him. But the manager, Emery, wasn't happy in the post-conference over that decision, especially VAR. But moving on, obviously, to the high ladder moments of the team for us is Cole Palmer, yet again, scores another goal. But the result for Chelsea wasn't to be. They did lose 2-1 in the end. And I believe Wilson scored a late, well, actually, it was Meniz, I think, scored the late equaliser. It was one of the two, either Wilson or Meniz. I can't remember. But it was a late goal from Fulham in the end, where Chelsea were drawing and they lost the points. Chelsea had a little bit of an error at the back, and that led to, obviously, the second goal coming. But it did mean, though, obviously, Palmer did score the only goal for Chelsea, which was good, especially if you did captain Palmer over Salah for this week. He did get 10 points, which is 20 for those who captured him. So not a bad result there. And obviously moving on to King Salah, again, this game week, obviously was part of the action in that football on Saturday. And he goes away, obviously scoring the goal, getting the bonus points on top of that. I think the bonus 2. And yeah, again, Salah does prevail once again this game week. It seems to be unstoppable in terms of the returns he's getting for Liverpool. It seems like you can perma-captain Salah because he seems like the most reliable FPL asset to captain at this moment in time. And obviously the curse is lifted, because there was that talk of obviously him blanking every Boxing Day fixture that he does have. He normally doesn't turn up for it in terms of a return, but it looks like the curse is finally broken. And yeah, captaincy worked out pretty well in the end. Moving on to the front three forwards. So Nicholas Jackson ends up blanking, obviously not getting involved in the action. And I'm not surprised. It was a tough game, like I did say, against Fulham. Big loss, though, for Chelsea in the title race, because that does mean they're dropping behind Liverpool as well. So, yeah, that's a big, not a big high point for Chelsea in that sense. But again, moving on to Isaac, who once again scores another goal, and he seems to be currently unstoppable at the moment for Newcastle yet again. And it seems like the continuous run of good form for Newcastle, as well as Isaac, is still carrying on. But yeah, a nice little 8-pointer there in terms of the forward return. Now, next to him, obviously, is João Pedro, who, again, frustratingly blanks yet again. It was a very end-to-end game, though, Brighton and Brentford, but there wasn't consistency in their shooting from either end. But to be fair, Flecken, whilst he did play, he did save a couple of goals. So, yeah, it was quite, I think, good action in terms of goalkeepers and defenders in that game, despite being a 0-0 draw in the end. But, yeah, again, frustrating for João Pedro to blank. Currently on the bench, there's not really much to talk about. Obviously, Fabianski, he suffered a head injury around half an hour in that game. He had to be taken off. A bit annoying, obviously, because that was the Southampton game where West Ham did manage to keep a clean sheet. So if you did have Fabianski, there's a bit of unluckiness there. Obviously, Enzo wasn't part of the action in terms of the midfield. No return for him this week, but only 2 points. Robinson obviously conceded to Chelsea, so that only leaves him with 1 point. I think he got a yellow card too. And Mikalenko obviously on 1 point also for conceding against Man City. So no points left on the bench really in terms of Haas's team. But overall, it is 66 points for him. This could be wrong, obviously, because this was updated straight after the match, so this could be varied in terms of ranking points. But at this moment, it is 56 points with a -4, making it a total of 52. And obviously, a red arrow dropping down from, I believe he was 1.2 million Haas, and now he's 1.5. So it is a slight red arrow of 300k for him. Obviously, that rank is still readjusting, so that could change tomorrow, obviously, when it's fully updated. But that is how Haas's team has gone so far for Game Week 18. That's all the players played, obviously. That's the end of Game Week. So, yeah, I don't think Haas will be happy with the result for this Game Week, but especially with Bruno Fernandes being suspended and getting the -2 points when he brought him in for a -4. So, yeah, that's again a bit of misfortune there. But let's move on, guys. To obviously my team, and I'm very delighted because, as you can see down below, you can see the green little arrow down there, and yeah, I've managed to get myself my first green arrow in 6 game weeks. But obviously, before I move on to my team and discuss it, I'll take a few of your comments in the chat. So first one's for Roman. Glad I didn't get Bruno, but my Saka replacement was Luis Diaz, who didn't even play, so I got Ahmad off to my bench to put me to finish on 69 points after Timber's bonus. Yeah, just speaking obviously on Timber, getting I feel like it was the bonus 3 as well, which I'm quite happy with because, as you can see, I have Timber in my team, and I think that did push me over with a green arrow. But the reason why Luis Diaz didn't play was supposedly his dad had a heart attack the morning Liverpool were meant to be playing, so that might have been why. Obviously, Luis Diaz was benched. He didn't even come on, which is respectively due to those family issues. Obviously, his dad had a heart attack, and I suppose he didn't want to, and obviously wasn't in the right frame of mind to play. Just because that's a bit of misfortune, I think, because I feel like Luis Diaz would have played if it wasn't for obviously the family incident. Patrick, hi, 64 points all out and a great arrow. Do you think it's worth to do Enzo to Sarr as a luxury move? Got Carl and Jetson too. Yeah, absolutely. I think for a 1 week punt to go for Sarr is this week because he does have Southampton at home, which is a great fixture, I think, for a player like Sarr. Because as we've seen, teams that push really high against newly promoted teams like Southampton, you usually see the goal scorers, obviously like Sarr, who often don't get involved in the action, do get involved in those teams that push obviously the high line. So he could be a very big impact. And it's the reason why I did bring him in as well against Bournemouth, just to see if he could do the same. But obviously he didn't. But the Southampton at home fixture for Sarr is a perfect one to move to, I think. And I think it is worth it for this week. Well, Game Week 19 coming up. Roman started Fabianski over Pickford, so that was fun to watch as Fabianski got stretched off and Pickford saves a penalty that then West Ham actually kept a clean sheet with Fabianski not playing. Yeah, that's what I was speaking about. Obviously, the misfortune and luck from Fabianski, because as you see, I have him in my team. He was the goalkeeper I transferred in last game week as well. So, yeah, I get my luck is very not good at the moment because everything that I bring in either gets injured or doesn't return. But yeah, that's a bit of misfortune. I think I mentioned to Dan to play Pickford against Man City. So I think when I see him, if he is going to be in the chat tonight, he's going to be very happy that I managed to persuade him to bring Pickford in over obviously the other goalkeeper he had. But yeah, that's a big blow, Rowan, because Pickford did manage to save a penalty that Harden took as well. Michael, thoughts on Bruno to Gordon? I would bench him, but I have 0 bench cover. Yes, I definitely would move Bruno to someone else. Gordon is a possible move you could go to. I mean, short term, I'll probably pick on Sarr, but I suppose for you it's a long term move, and you do want yeah, you'd bench him because you have 0 bench cover as well. So yeah, I'll put the Gordon is a good move, I think, because it's Isaac and Gordon. I think is the main, provider. Well, to be fair, I can't remember his name, but the other player that for Newcastle midfield is a pretty good option too. I'm trying to think of his name. I can't put my name on it. You probably know who it is though, Michael. The one time I benched for Bruggen for Fabianski, he gets 8 points. I'm sending for Pickford. Yeah, absolutely. I think Pickford is a great option to go for. I mean, if you've had Pickford already, he's kept you back-to-back clean sheets, and it's just saved a penalty for you. So yeah, for me as well, Pickford could be a goalkeeper I potentially bring in myself. But without further ado, guys, let's move on to discuss my team and how well it's done this week. So we've spoken about Fabianski. He played about half an hour, suffered a head injury, and got taken off. And he's going to be out for quite a while, it seems. Red flag. Only getting the 2 points, though. Unfortunately, West Ham did keep the clean sheet in the end, so he missed out on that. But obviously, my other counterpart for West Ham did manage to do well, and that was Wan-Bissaka, who got the 9-pointer. So he did get the bonus 3 on top of the clean sheet, which I'm quite happy with. Because I knew I could see something in Wan-Bissaka, and it was going to come in one of the fixtures in the last 2 game weeks, and I'm happy it did come in the Southampton one this game week, and it paid off massively. Helped with the green arrow, contributed really well with that because he is a differential, and I'm quite happy. I brought him in a -4 the week before, so that -4 has paid off, I think. Moving on to Timber, obviously, Arsenal just played now, and he got the bonus 3, I believe. Now, this was constantly changing from bonus 2 to bonus 3, so I'm not 100% sure that he's keeping those bonus 3 points or not. That could possibly change as well because they do update the system really late now. But at the moment, where I saw it was 9 points that Timber had, so he pretty much matched 1%. So the other letdown only was obviously Virgil van Dijk, where Liverpool did concede within 6 minutes, which was quite a surprise. I was hoping they kept the clean sheet against Leicester, considering it was a home fixture at Anfield, and it's very tough for any team to really score a goal against them. But yeah, bit of obviously it wasn't a clean sheet for them, but I'm quite happy with the other 2 in my defence, keeping one and getting bonus points. Moving on to the midfield, so we spoke about Palmer getting his 10 points. So let me move on to Sarr, who I did bring in a part of the -4 this week, and he gets me 3 points. It was a 0-0 in the end between the 2 teams, which Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. I'm not really surprised at that. Maybe half surprised, but I did bring in Sarr for the Southampton at home fixture, which if he did get anything for this one, it would have been a bonus towards it. But yeah, he gets some 3 points, clean sheet point on top of that. So yeah, no goal involvement from either side. Moving on to Brennan Johnson. So he was my impact sub who was brought on for Luis Diaz, who didn't play for Liverpool. So Johnson obviously didn't get nothing, 2 points. I kind of wish he did when I saw Luis Diaz benched. But yeah, it's again, terrible result from Spurs losing 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. I suppose that's not as bad as a loss I thought it would be to concede only 1 against them. But yeah, no return for Brendan Johnson, who actually did start in that game as well. But yeah, only 2 points from him. We've spoken about Salah. He was my captain as well for this week, and he got the 18-pointer, which I'm quite happy with again. It's very hard to take the armband off of Salah because obviously he is a goal machine and an assistant machine at the same time. So yeah, no doubt with Mr. Reliable, King Salah. And obviously moving on to the front 3 forwards who haven't really done well this week. Nicholas Jackson with a blank, Chris Wood with a blank also, and João Pedro, which is no surprise, has a blank too. So the forwards didn't really perform for me this game week. But there was 2 attacking returns from Palmer and Salah in the team in the midfield with some clean sheet points from the defence. So I'm quite happy with obviously the midfield and defence performing at least this game week because it did look a bit daunting. But just quickly on the bench, this is the interesting thing because the Brentford goalkeeper, Flecken, went off injured, similarly to the same time Fabianski did. And that did mean Vardy Marston did play in that game and obviously managed to get 1 point as the second choice goalkeeper. So depending on how serious Flecken's injury is, I could get away with rolling next week, obviously for Game Week 19 if Flecken is out for Game Week 19. I have to keep an eye on that because it could mean I could save a transfer on Fabianski and just bench him and then play Vardy Marston. I'm not sure who he has though, but that's one thing I could possibly do. Luis Diaz obviously was the impact sub, got 0 points. Fies is flagged, so I'm assuming he's injured. He didn't play any minutes. Keane, again, no minutes and 0 points. No surprise there. He seems to have lost his place in the team. So yeah, not really much to talk about in terms of the bench because it is a low minute bench for individual players there. But I've done it, guys. I've finally got a green arrow. It's not a big one, but I'll take it. 4.6 million in rank currently. Obviously, that will change. It's not completely accurate, that rank, but 61 points, biased and -4, obviously, which takes me down to 57. So, yeah, it's a good game week in terms of another -4, which, yeah, I'm quite happy with because it feels like I've had 5 game weeks with red arrows and none really with a green. So, I'm just happy to see that green arrow next to the rank, if I'm honest, despite where I am currently. It's a relief. But yeah, that's Game Week 18 pretty much discussed for both our teams. Now we move on to obviously the interesting one because this is a quick turnaround, obviously, for fixtures because we the game week does start Sunday. So yeah, it is a very obviously fast moving game week, obviously in this period of time. But as you can see on my screen, this is how my Game Week 19 looks like currently. So you can sort of see the issues I might have and obviously the issues I don't have in the team. But let's go through it. Obviously, we've got Fabianski, who's flagged for a head injury. He's got Liverpool at home. So yeah, not great. Obviously, whether he was fit or not, I probably wasn't expecting a clean sheet for him anyway from Game Week 19, but kind of a blow considering I just brought him into my team and he's got injured. But yeah, that's something I could possibly sort out in terms of this Game Week 19, in terms of a goalkeeper transfer potentially. But in the midfield, it is quite tough. I think this this defense that I've got. So Wan-Bissaka has Liverpool at home, which is very tough, I think, for a fixture. Obviously, Timber has Brentford away. Van Dijk has West Ham away. So 2 away fixtures for the defense, and the home one's pretty tough for obviously West Ham. So yeah, I'm not sure what to read for Game Week 19 in terms of my defense, how many clean sheets there will be, and whether there's going to be any attacking returns. But yeah, it's going to be a tough week, I think, for getting a clean sheet from those 3 players. And I can't really swap any out because my defense is non-playing. And obviously Fies is injured, so he wasn't playing minutes anyway. So I'm kind of forced into playing these 3 defenders I have on the screen right now for next week. But moving on to the midfield, we've got Palmer, got a nice fixture against Ipswich away, which I'm fine to playing for. Obviously Sarr, who is obviously the main guy that I'm looking towards in that fixture against Southampton at home. I mean, it's a great fixture. If you're looking for a differential to bring in, he is one that I would possibly look to go towards because that's one of those fixtures where Sarr could just potentially get a double haul or even at least score or get something out of that game. I mean, I'd be very surprised because he does have quality when he gets the chances, and he did get a lot of chances against Arsenal. So the fact he did manage to in that game makes me confident that he will get something from obviously Southampton at home. And obviously to complete midfield, we've got the Liverpool duo of Luis Diaz and Mo Salah. Now, obviously, Luis Diaz, I'm not sure with him. I mean, he's been rested. Obviously, he didn't play any minutes in the Leicester game, which was kind of a blow. He does have West Ham away next, which is a quick turnaround for games, obviously 3-day gap. I don't know whether he plays or not. Because due to obviously what happened to his dad, it's hard to know whether he'll play or not. So he might be a risk for Game Week 19, but we'll have to see. Because Slot does like rotation more than obviously Klopp did for Liverpool. And then obviously we've got Salah, who is the captain for West Ham away. And I'm not looking towards anyone else in terms of captain still. It's still firmly set on Salah, unless I see a drop in form, which is very unlikely for him, as he's having the best season of Liverpool and FPL. So, yeah, captain Salah it is again, I think, this week for 19. In terms of the front three, though, we've got João Pedro, who's Aston Villa away. And I think that if my goalkeeper was not out for Liverpool game, I would have been targeting João Pedro to be out of my team, because he has been awful. If I'm honest, he hasn't delivered in the last few game weeks, only getting me 1 assist. I think I mentioned this many times, but I think he will be one of the most players that he will be transferred out a lot, and due to that, with Aston Villa away not being an easy fixture for him. And next to him, we've got Nicholas Jackson, who's got Ipswich away, and I feel like I've seen a lot of people transfer out Nicholas Jackson, which I think I would keep him in for the Ipswich away fixture. Again, similar to Sarr, it's like one of those fixtures where you might not see Palmer obviously score, but you might see a player like Nicholas Jackson put one behind him. So, yeah, again, he's a player that I like to look at for that fixture in 19. And finally, we've got Chris Wood, who has Everton away. And I feel like Chris Wood has been a bit more quiet in terms of goal involvement. As you can see, he hasn't scored in the last 3 game weeks. Biased, obviously, the goal that he last scored was against Man United in Game Week 15. And he does have Everton away, which arguably Everton has done really well in terms of keeping out the big teams. And at the same time, Nottingham Forest are equally doing well in terms of where they are in the table. It's probably the best season they've had so far. Hopefully they can sustain that for the long-term period. But yeah, I mean, Chris Wood, he has been very hard to sell, because when you're about to sell him, obviously transfer him out, he does score. So if he does blank again, maybe there is a potential to take him out. But we'll have to see, because I'm still set on keeping him, I think, despite his goal drought in the last 3 game weeks. But in terms of the bench, we've got Vardy Marston, who does have Arsenal at home. So, yeah, it's not the ideal fixture. If Flecken is out for Game Week 19, and I do have Vardy Marston playing for him, it's still a tough fixture against Arsenal at home, and I'm not convinced of a clean sheet at all. So, I might be swayed to go with, obviously, Pickford instead of, obviously, Fabianski, but close to the time will tell. Obviously, we've got Brennan Johnson, who I'm actually tempted to swap Brennan Johnson for João Pedro. Even though Johnson's a minutes risk, it's come to that point where I can't. I mean, I can't. It's just, when you look at that, there's no goals for João Pedro since Game Week 12. We're on Game Week 18. That's 6 game weeks. He's played full 90 minutes in 3 game weeks, and yet he still can't score. He's got 2 tough fixtures, which is Aston Villa and Arsenal at home, which, the way it's going, he could possibly score against Arsenal at home and Aston Villa away. That's just how FPL logic works. Once we take out a player, they usually return. So me effectively benching João Pedro means he probably will score and get points off the bench, but I don't think I'll be too cold-hearted about it, because it feels like it wouldn't be such a reward, more of a curse, and not really obviously a reward for the points he's had missed out on in terms of the last few game weeks. But I could have earned Cunha, for example, who's pretty much returned every game week, whereas João Pedro hasn't. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that move. Moving on to Keane and Fires, I ain't really discussed much on these two because they are pretty much minutes risk. Well, Keane hasn't played, I feel like, in ages. Let's just see. Yeah, he hasn't played since game week 10. So 8 game weeks, Keane has been left absent. So yeah, Fires again. He's barely played any minutes. He's also injured too. So there's not much bench cover for me to replace in terms of defense. As I mentioned, I'm forced to play those three who are in my starting 11 at the moment, who have got, I'll say, average to mediocre fixtures. But obviously, before I continue, guys, let me read a few of your comments in the chat, see what you have to say and what opinions you have. Roman, can the FA light ban Cunha? I can't believe I sold him before João Pedro. Yes, it is a surprise that João Pedro hasn't been banned yet from football. There has been rumours though, and I saw this on an unofficial source that João Pedro Cunha is looking like he could have a 5-match ban. Now, it's not confirmed. That's an unconfirmed source that obviously I've seen on the internet. So yeah, it looks like Cunha could possibly be out for 5 game week suspension, but we have to wait and see until that's 100% confirmed how long he is going to be out for. But yeah, that's what it's looking like at the moment. Not sure when that will be, because I kind of thought it would be this week, but it seems like Cunha's still going strong in terms of goals. It seems like his ban hasn't come yet, but we have to wait and see when it's official. Romus, again, wanting to ask what's the best way to catch up with him in the mini league. Reason I ask is I'm currently second in mine, and it seems me and first keep making the same moves as each other, like the exact same players. Yeah, I can see why that can be quite difficult if you're making the same moves for players. I don't want to obviously get into it, but it seems like he might be, well, whoever it could be, is obviously trying to replicate the same moves so he keeps up with you. But again, I will not know that for sure. The best way to catch someone up, if it was for that reason, is potentially the only thing I could think of really is bringing in someone that that player possibly won't bring in. That's unlikely to think of. So let's say, for example, Roman. I don't think your second, obviously the first mini league player in your mini league, will possibly think to bring him in. So try and bring in a differential, and I feel like that lessens the risk of obviously your mini league player bringing in the exact same person. But apart from that, obviously do not tell, which I believe you won't tell, obviously, who you're bringing in to anyone. So yeah, that's the only two things I think. Keep it confidential. Don't say anything to anyone who you're bringing in, and obviously bring in like a differential who you think will do well. For example, who's got Southampton at home, is a good example. This is I hope I say this right, Milo. Tips for starting FPL YouTube channel, because I saw this one vid but said you need to pay for all the graphics and everything, but I can't afford that. Any tips? Well, obviously, Milo, technically you don't have to buy or pay for anything. You can do it for free. There is ways of doing it. I'm sure you can find those ways on the internet. There's definitely ways you can do it for free. It might not be obviously the best graphics in the world and whatnot, but it's a good starting point if you can't afford it at the moment. So I would suggest have a little research, see what you can do for free in the meantime, and then when you can afford it, you can upgrade. That's what I would suggest, Milo. Just start off small and gradually work your way up, and hopefully that does help you in your question. And Michael, top 5 defenders from Game Week 19 onwards in order. Ooh, this is a very interesting question. This is going to test my, obviously, defender pick knowledge. So I think starting from top in terms of defender picks, I think the first one would be Gabriel for Arsenal. He'll be my first one. Second one would be Ola Aina. Third one would be the Liverpool defender. I'd say Van Dijk, third one. Fourth one, I'll probably say Munoz. And the fifth one, I'll probably say Wan-Bissaka as a fifth pick. Oh, actually, no. I would pick a Everton defender as my fifth pick. So yeah, I'll pick an Everton defender as my 5th pick. So yeah, it'll be obviously Gabriel, Aina. I've completely forgotten who I picked now. Yeah, Gabriel, Aina, Van Dijk, Munoz, and an Everton defender, probably Mikolenko. That is my top defender picks for Game Week 19 onwards, in my opinion, Michael. Hopefully that does help. Jackie Chan, welcome to the chat. Why is Isaac not in your squad? I haven't been able to bring him in, Jackie Chan. I've had some issues every game week, such as injuries. As you can see, I've got another issue for my injury priority, and that is Fabianski, who I did bring in last game week. And I also had a defender issue, Ain't Nuri, who obviously got suspended, has taken him out as well. So that forced me into not bringing him in. Saka, again, another injury from last game week. Stopped me from bringing Isaac in if I potentially could. But I am planning to work hard when Game Week 19 obviously starts. So that might be the time when I bring Isaac into my team, because it seems like I missed out on a lot of points from him. But that is the reason why. It's down to injuries and priorities in my team where I haven't been able to reach to Isaac yet. But last but not least, guys, I will show you roughly what my transfer plans will be, because obviously it's just around the corner, as you can see, the 29th of December on the Sunday. So we haven't got long before obviously that does come around. But yeah, I am obviously looking at Fabianski to replace, because obviously he is out injured. So that does mean a blunder for my goalkeeper. I could play Vardy Marson and save me using a transfer on a goalkeeper, but again, I'm not expecting much from Vardy Marson against Arsenal at home, because Brentford have been really bad with clean sheets this season, and defensively have not been great, stopping goals coming in. So yeah, I have a lot of money in the bank though from selling Saka last game week, so I don't have to worry about who I bring in for Fabianski. But I am, like I mentioned, I am looking at either bringing in Pickford, who, again, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think Everton have the most clean sheets. Maybe level with Liverpool, but I think they do have the most clean sheets, Everton. Which is, it doesn't feel like it, but yeah, I think they do. It's either Pickford I bring in for my transfer this week. I don't think I'll be doing any other moves. I keep saying that I won't, and then I end up taking a -4. But no, I think definitely I might just be making a goalkeeper move. And yeah, it's either Pickford, who's got Nottingham Forest at home, tough game, playing against Chris Wood, or I could look to Sells. Matt Sells, obviously, he's got Everton away. So it's either the goalkeeper I'm playing against the other that I could potentially be bringing in. And obviously the fixtures for Nottingham Forest aren't that great, but comparatively their season has been outstanding so far. And I believe Sales did get bonus points as well. He does nick bonus points here and there if he does manage to make a couple of saves in the game too. But there's two goalkeeper options that you might look towards if you're in the same situation as me, because that's who I'm looking towards, either Sells or Pickford. But yeah, it all depends who I feel like will get the clean sheet for me. More likely to get the clean sheet for me, but I do like Pickford as an option. I mean, he's still got 9-pointer from saving obviously the goal penalty from Haaland. He does have Nottingham Forest next, which could be maybe a 0-0 game. Could be. It's very tough teams against each other who don't often score that many goals, but have a really good defense. So it could be a 0-0 possibly, or very low scoring game, I feel like, for that fixture. But yeah, that is who I'm looking towards, either Pickford or Sells to replace Fabianski, obviously in goal for my team. So yeah, we have to wait until deadline day and see who I go towards, either Sells or Pickford. So obviously, let me switch back to my other team. which I'll just leave on that screen so you guys can see and answer a few more questions in the chat. So Adam says, Luca Dean to Munoz, 1 free transfer, no problems elsewhere. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not. Luca Dean to Munoz, he has Southampton at home. Munoz does show attacking threat here and there, and I feel like he will do well in that particular game as well. So I don't hate the move. It's a pretty good move. If you have no issues elsewhere, that's great. And Henderson, which if there's a follow-up to that, Adam, let me know, because I'm not sure what you mean by Henderson in that part of the comment. But yeah, it has been interesting Game Week 18. I'm looking forward to Game Week 19, obviously, when obviously Dean Henderson for your goalkeeper. I mean, yeah, let's look at Dean Henderson actually, because he was spoken about a lot in the deadline stream. And yeah, he did keep a clean sheet, obviously against Bournemouth, and he does have Southampton at home next. So yeah, he has great fixtures. Crystal Palace. It's just whether I trust Crystal Palace to keep clean sheets. Let's really look at how many they've kept. They've kept 4 so far this season. There isn't many. He has picked one here and there against teams. He does Southampton at home next. I think I still would look toward. I think myself, I still would go for either Pickford or Sells. I'm leaning towards more Pickford because I do prefer Ole Einar in the team, so it does save me a defensive option to go for really Sells when I could go for Einar, and then choose Pickford to be my main goalkeeper replacement. That is what I'm looking towards. I think, despite the tough fixtures, Everton's defense has turned out to be really good this season. If you have had Pickford already, and yeah, I do agree they are improving. Hence why I think Sarr becomes an option. I think this week, because not only is their defense improving, but their attack is also improving too for Crystal Palace, and maybe we might see like a resurgence of form in the next few games for Crystal Palace, which I do want to jump the boat early before obviously a player like Sarr continues to return with obviously people bringing him in during that period. But yeah, I think still a great option. I do agree. I will consider it in the deadline stream when it comes to it on Sunday, which is a very late one as well. Again, I think it's a 12 o'clock deadline, so we'll get to see. Obviously, it's a good rest. Not an early game, no early game fixtures. And yeah, let's take a look quickly at the fixtures. So for Game Week 19, which is a good spread of fixtures for Game Week 19. Lots of games for Sunday. 6 games in total, which is nice. A good spread. First one being at 2:30, which is kind of like an early kickoff for Man City again, which is against Leicester. Who knows what will come with that game? It's hard to read Man City now. They're on a very unpredictable line of form, which I can't really read in. Similar to Man United, I'm not sure what you're going to get from Man City. And I can't believe I'm going to say that after how many years I've not seen Man City play the way they have at the moment. But it would be interesting to see what Leicester do at home to them and whether Man City can win that game or not. Crystal Palace Southampton, we've spoken about, like players like Sarr, Munoz, and obviously Henderson potentially make a big impact in that game. Not really looking towards anyone from Southampton because they have been very poor this season. As one of the right teams, it's been tough for them. Obviously, they've conceded the most goals by far, record amount against teams. Everton and Norton Forest, this is a very interesting one where I can see a 0-0 in, like I mentioned. So both teams could possibly cancel each other out in this fixture due to their tough defences that they do hold against each other. So I probably won't be expecting much from both of these sides, but it is one of those games where it could be literally end to end. But for me, it looks like a game that will be quite stagnant and a stalemate kind of one. But we'll see. Fulham Bournemouth, again, Fulham have shown they're really good at holding off teams like Chelsea. They held off them in game week 18. As we saw, they obviously won 2-1. So I believe they are a dangerous team playing against Bournemouth as well. A home game for Fulham. So yeah, I think it won't be an easy game for Fulham, but it will be a tough one for Bournemouth at the same time. Spurs and Wolves, two action-packed teams again. Obviously, Wolves winning 2-0 against Man United. Cunha scoring from a corner kick, which isn't a surprise. Interesting to see if whether he's suspended for that game or not, because if so, might mean Spurs could break the obviously deadlock of having not many wins. Obviously, they have two centre backs out plus their goalkeeper as well, which you have to consider. But it will be a game, hard to read game, hard to know what the result will be. Liverpool West Ham, the way Liverpool are going at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if they'd hit the 3 points away from West Ham, even though it's an away fixture. Again, no fixture is easy, but I think Liverpool will get over the line with it in that 5:15 kickoff. It should be a good game to watch on Sky Sports. Monday fixtures, you've got 3 of them late in the evening again. 7 quarter to 8 ones, and then 8 o'clock fixture, which is Man United Newcastle. I feel that's going to be very painful to watch as a Man United fan, but we have to. But yeah, Aston Villa, Brighton, 2 teams are not relatively good defences again. Brighton managed to keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth, which comes at a surprise at the same time. But yeah, with Duran out for Aston Villa, might mean Watkins steps up again, but we'll have to see. There's not really any assets I would look to consider for either side, especially Brighton. I would completely ignore assets from that team, but keep it a fine eye, obviously Watkins against them. Ipswich Chelsea, obviously I'm not looking at towards anything for Ipswich players. Chelsea, there's obviously Enzo Palmer and Nicholas Jackson. They'd be looking to bounce back, I think, Chelsea, after losing against Fulham in the late stages of that game, trying to keep up with Liverpool, obviously, in the title race, but it will slowly slip, especially with Liverpool's game in hand. It is going to be tough, I think, for them to obviously get back on the front foot now that obviously Liverpool have won this week and Chelsea have lost all 3 points. And obviously Newcastle Man United, well, without Bruno Fernandes and Ugarte, who both are suspended for that game, it's hard to tell really what Man United will do. I'm not expecting a good result for them again. I feel like Newcastle will get the win away from them at Old Trafford. I honestly don't see Man United doing much in that game. It could be a very horrible defeat, I feel like, for Amorim again. But yeah, if Man United can somehow pull that off without Bruno Fernandes, who arguably is possibly one of the best players we've got, who we don't have in that game, it's going to be hard to watch, I think, as a Man United fan, as it always is every game week to see. And Arsenal, the Wednesday fixture, which is on New Year's Day, which is a nice one. Arsenal and Brentford should be a good one. Exciting. If you've got players like Jesus, Trossard, Havertz, Martinelli, obviously for Brentford, Mbeumo, and Wissa. Wissa had a goal ruled out today, which possibly could have meant he scored this game, which obviously was offside, but again, he could be an exciting option to go forward with in that Arsenal game. I see both teams scoring for that fixture. But yeah, that's a couple of the fixtures, guys, that we've looked and discussed about. Hopefully that builds you a bit more insight into obviously the football for next week. Let me just readjust my screen for you guys so you can see the team for Gameweek 19 and put it away that way a bit. There we go. That's perfect, right? So the last few questions, guys, and then we'll probably wrap up the stream for this game week. So Laurie says Jackson to Watkins / Isaac. Well, yeah, that's interesting now, because you could move towards Watkins now, because it seems like without Duran being in the team due to his red card and suspended, it does mean Watkins could probably will play 90 minutes in the next game week. But as tempted as I am, I can't not bring in Isaac. So I would probably do Jackson to Isaac instead. But I'll probably keep an eye on Watkins for the foreseeable. See what minutes he does without Duran and whether he can recover some of his good form that he lost, I feel like, from obviously last season where he was quite formidable. But his price doesn't justify his form this season so far. And last comment from Orange Apple, is João Pedro a sell now? And if so, who for? As I really don't like any of the options, as I already have Isaac. Well, in terms of options that you could potentially go for, I mean, to answer the question, yeah, João Pedro is a sell now. But knowing how FPL works, you can sell João Pedro and he'll probably score against Aston Villa away. But I don't think that justifies all the other blanks he's had in the previous game weeks, whether he does score or not in game week 19. So I feel like he is a sell at this moment in time, especially when Cunha has been scoring goals whilst João Pedro has been blanking. Now, in terms of forward options to go with, I mean, there is... I'll just have a look at forward options because there's Gabriel Jesus, who's an interesting one for Arsenal. In the absence of Saka being out for 5 weeks or so, I think Jesus becomes a nice temporary option for the foreseeable until Saka is back fit into the team for Arsenal. But I feel like Jesus could be a good one to replace João Pedro with. Trying to think of other forwards that could possibly take charge. I mean, there's Wissa. He had a goal disallowed today against Brighton, sorry. So he could be a potential asset to go for obviously does have Arsenal at home next, but after that game he does have Southampton away. Which if he can get anything against Arsenal, it would be a bonus. But I would probably still bring him in if he has Arsenal anyway, because you never know. Stranger things have happened. I think he is a good player as well for alongside Mbeumo. He also is a good prolific goal scorer for Brentford too. So yeah, he could be also another possible forward you could bring in for him. Havertz could be a nice one again for Arsenal. Again, he did score against Ipswich, the only goal, assisted by Trossard. So you might see 7 goals now for Kai Havertz. He could be another option to go for Arsenal. But in terms of that, there aren't many others that I would consider going for. I think it's literally between Wissa, Havertz, and we'll see. Watkins could be another great one too. In the absence of Duran being suspended, does mean Watkins will play more minutes, and obviously has a sustainable period of maybe scoring goals as well. So yeah, for João Pedro, I'll probably say an Arsenal forward like Jesus or Havertz, or an Aston Villa forward like Watkins, or as the other option that you might go for, I would say Wissa. So there's some options there. Hopefully that does help Orange Apple with that question. But I think we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for watching. Obviously, don't forget to like the stream, subscribe for more, and leave a comment down below if you wish. It is a quick turnaround, obviously. So we'll try and fit an FPL podcast in between this game week. But we have to wait and see. If not, we'll be back for the deadline stream, which is on Sunday, 12 o'clock. So it's a noon deadline. So yeah, tune in for that definitely, as you'll see what our plans are for game week 19 for both our teams. But yeah, on that note, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your obviously holidays, whether you have planned for New Year's, and yeah, we'll see you very soon in the coming week. So yeah, take care. Enjoy your evening, day, or morning.